I suppose the only way I can start this review is by commenting on how big the actual notch is on the Google Pixel 3 XL. I mean, that thing is absolutely huge, and it is easily one of the biggest in the mobile phone market right now compared to the other kind of full front screen mobile phones out there. But yes, sure, it does ruin somewhat the front aesthetics of the mobile phone itself, but there is a very, very good reason why they've actually included such a big notch, which we'll get into further on in this review. But as it stands, Google have just announced and nearly released, they're not quite released yet, but nearly released the Google Pixel 3 and the Google Pixel 3 XL, which are pretty much the exact same phone under the hood. There are some slight differences, but which we'll get to in this review. But as it stands, these two phones are exactly the same. And all bar it being different screen sizes. Now the Google Pixel 3 XL has a screen size of 6.3 inches, while the Google Pixel 3 only has a screen of 5.3 inches. However, if you move down to the standard Pixel 3, the notch disappears, instead retaining quite a large forehead for a modern handset. There's a relatively large chin on the bottom too of both the Pixel 3 and Pixel XL. Both phones still retain that dual selfie camera and even have dual front-facing speakers, which explains why Google have kept them thick. Both phones are still far from bezel-less too, and although their left and right are kept to a minimum, they're still a far cry from something as beautiful looking as the iPhone X. To put it into perspective, the forehead and chin areas come in at around 1cm on the Google Pixel 3, which is somewhat huge. The phones now, compared to the previous generation handsets, are thinner and are now coated in Gorilla Glass 5 on the back and the front, while the edge band is made from aluminium with a gloss finish. This is of course to protect the devices from scratches and drops, but it also enables the phones to have wireless charging. Google do now provide a very nice looking dock for that, which matches the aesthetic of the phones and looks quite nice on a desk. The bottom of the phone only has a USB Type-C input, which is a little annoying as there's no more headphone jack, so users will have to use a provided dongle to use wired headphones, of which Google does supply in the box. The fingerprint sensor can be found on the rear of the device like it was on the Pixel 2, and it works fairly well, although there were times when I found myself entering my chosen pin as it just wasn't picking up my fingerprint. The rear uses a two-tone type finish again, with the bottom section covered in some kind of frosted coating. The top is glossy and the whole phone does look quite premium, although quite slippery to hold. The mint green unlock button and volume rocker is on the right, although positioning is a little fiddly. I would have liked to have had the two swapped round to save a stretch to the more commonly used unlock button, although this is nowhere near as bad on the smaller Pixel 3. So I prefer myself the smaller size of the Google Pixel 3. Now if I show you that this phone, you can actually use it with one hand, and I can actually stretch quite far into the phone to actually get to everywhere I need to get to using one hand. Where with the Google Pixel 3 XL, I kind of find myself stretching. Now if I show you this particular phone, I kind of find myself stretching to get to, especially the unlock button at the very, very top. I'm having to stabilize the phone usually with my left hand, and then I kind of use my fingers as a stylus to draw my way through the actual phone itself. So I do actually prefer really having a phone that I can use one-handed, just for ease of use really, so I can text with one hand rather having to use two, or stabilize the actual phone with my left hand while getting through. I mean, the fingerprint sensor is a little bit annoying on the back if you are covering it with your left hand, so you have to move it. But that's what you get if you want a phone with bigger screen real estate, is the fact that you have to use two hands rather than just one, which you can get away with on the standard Google Pixel phone, the Google Pixel 3. There's no surprise that the Google Pixel 3 XL has a higher resolution than the standard Pixel 3, and at 1440 by 2960 with an aspect ratio of 18:9, it also has 523 pixels per inch. It looks super sharp all throughout, whether it's reading text on a web page, playing a game, or using various work-related apps. I never found an issue with the display, and the smaller Pixel 3 has a resolution of 1080 by 2160 with a pixel density of 443, so it's really not too far behind its older sibling. Both screens use a P-OLED technology, which gives superb viewing angles to your device, as well as a very nice colour reproduction when watching something like Netflix. I've just got through a few episodes of Better Call Saul on the Pixel 3 XL, and I can very much say that it looks superb. Diving into the advanced display settings open you up to choose various colour schemes for the phone as well. These range from natural, boosted or adaptive. Natural muted colours, while boosted heighten the contrast. I kept it on the preset adaptive mode as the phone changes the colour display depending on what I was watching. Lastly, the screen can go super bright on max, which is good especially in sunlight, but it can cause some issues with battery life. So to be absolutely honest with you, I found that both phones shipped with pretty great screen calibration anyway, so there was no real need to have to delve into the display settings to change it to get it perfect. It pretty much came perfect as it is. So both iterations of the Google Pixel 3 phone comes with a Snapdragon 845 processor, or SDM845 for short, which both processors have 4 cores clocked in at 2.5 GHz, while the remaining 4, although slower, are clocked in at 1.6 GHz. So there's also an Adreno 630 graphics chip inside, as well as 4 GB of RAM, to really be able to pull in some graphical performance from games. So even though I decided to run a Geekbench test on both phones, they came out pretty much with identical scores. So the Google Pixel 3 XL gave off a single core score of 2355 and a multi-core score at 8275. Now the standard Google Pixel gave a very similar score as well, with the multi-core score actually coming in at just under 8,000, which I thought was very strange, but the single core score was very muchness of a muchness between both of the models. This is fine of course for number pushing, but how does it perform in real world situations? Well, extremely well. I never noticed any kind of slowdown with either phone. Multitasking as a whole was very quick. Using the quick launch tool by sliding your phone up from the bottom looks at your most recent apps which haven't closed when you leave. Now getting back to them is pretty instantaneous. So both phones, as I say, are pretty much on par with each other when it comes to performance, and I'm not really sure why you would go for the Google Pixel 3 XL over the standard Pixel 3 mobile phone. Just in terms of performance, you're not getting anything better with the Pixel 3 XL if you do decide to go for that. So one area inside the settings menu which intrigued me was the digital well-being section. Inside these settings you can look at how long you spend in each app, whether it's Facebook, a game of Fortnite, or anything else. There's also a wind down schedule too, where you set your bedtime. Once this is set, it shuts off access to your phone so you're not distracted while you sleep. Admittedly, this is probably better for the younger generation among us, as who doesn't check their Twitter while they're laying there trying to drift off? But if this is the kind of thing you're after, then go mad. Set schedules up so you're not just looking at your phone all the time. There's no denying the fact that Google won the Phone Camera of the Generation award with their Pixel 2, and seeing the actual raw performance of this machine learning AI camera on the back of the Google Pixel 3, it still kept me insanely impressed. So on the back you can find a 12.2 megapixel camera with an f1.8 aperture. It doesn't exactly scream performance, but because of its ability to increase its pixel size to 1.4 microns depending on your lighting situation, it makes this snapper produce some wonderfully sharp images. There's a lot of things happening here with the Google Pixel 3 in terms of automation thanks to its AI learning ability, and a lot of magic that happens behind the scenes. Take for example their new Top Shot mode, which is where the Pixel 3 will take a motion photo, choose the best images from that bunch. This will ensure that you capture the absolute action even if you press the shutter button moments after it's happened. There's also a new Night Sight mode which gives users a chance to capture sharper images at night. However, this feature wasn't available on our test unit, as Google says it will be coming when the phone is launched in November. However, the most impressive smart camera feature is the Super Res Zoom. The Pixel 3 will take a number of shots, each a bit different from the last, but this time will combine them to create a super sharp, nice looking image. And finally is the ability to take a wide angle selfie which captures more of your surroundings, which can include more friends in the frame without the need to use a selfie stick or put the phone on a tripod some distance away from you. The video performance of the Google Pixel 3 actually follows suit to the camera, as it can produce some wonderfully sharp imagery. It can shoot maximum at 2160p at 30 frames per second all the way down to 720. Now if you decide to shoot at 720p, you get the chance to shoot at 240 frames per second as well, giving a really smooth slow motion ability. The camera is able to focus pretty quickly too, ensuring that your subject stays in focus and separated from the video's background. So what more as Google has decided to put one camera on the back when other comparable manufacturers are now either as a standard using two cameras, or you've got something like the Samsung A9 that was launched, actually was just announced a few days ago, that has four on the back. So it's very strange that Google have decided to stick to that one camera setup, but then saying that the photo quality that you get from these phones is absolutely wonderful, and to be honest with you, I couldn't really fault it. And especially with the portrait modes where it separates your subject from the background and it kind of gives a false blurry background. Yes, okay, it does some really strange thing to your skin. It very much smooths your skin over. I don't know why it does that. I don't really like it. But just in terms of kind of like the edge of your subject, there are no soft edges. And usually, if you're taking portraits of someone, you get kind of soft edges around the hair, around the ears, and it kind of just really strangely blends into your background. But here, the subjects were strong, they were very sharp, they were very vivid, compared to kind of older iterations of portrait modes on mobile phones. As I say, the camera here is absolutely superb, and I couldn't really fault it. I haven't compared them too much to any other kind of flagship devices. We haven't got any here in the office at the moment, just the Pixel 3s. But I would like to see some comparisons with some very much flagship handsets on the market, just to see if the dual camera does make a difference over a single camera. I don't think it'll make much difference. Google have done a very good job here, so it'll be nice to see once people start releasing those kinds of videos. One thing I really wasn't keen on is the battery life. Now, by lunchtime, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, I'm reaching for a charger to charge the device again, because I'm finding that I'm getting to sort of 30-20% battery life. Now, the screen brightness is a huge factor when it comes to the actual battery life of your phone. The Google Pixel 3 XL has a massive screen on there, and you're going to have to carry a charger with you. If you're going to use a bright screen, you're going to use the phone as much as I do. I mean, I'm constantly on my phone. Then you're going to have to carry a charger with you. Now, the nice thing about the Google Pixel 3 phones is the fact that it comes with a quick charge plug, and it uses, as I say, USB Type-C, so you do get that very, very quick charging. Now, I can get from 30% to near enough full in about 30 minutes with the Pixel 3 XL. Take a charger with you wherever you do go, or if you're going out for an entire day like I am, from 7 in the morning till 8-9 o'clock at night, then take a charger with you, give it a quick sort of juice up during the day, and you should be able to get through most of the day. I mean, if you're not using your phone anywhere near as much as I do, then yeah, for absolutely sure you could get away with an entire day's worth of use. But for such a heavy user like myself, I've certainly struggled getting a full day's use out of this phone. So I think the Google Pixel 3 and the Google Pixel 3 XL mobile phones are absolutely fantastic all-around phones. They're very, very quick. They can multitask very well. The camera on the back is absolutely superb and can take some wonderful photos. Battery life is a little bit disappointing, sure, but you do have that sort of dash charge, that quick charge, so you can get up to full quite quickly. And they actually look quite good. Now, I don't think they're going to turn heads. You're not going to get this phone out. People are going to go, ooh, what phone are you using? It looks very dated compared to, I don't know, let's say any of the iPhones coming out, the new Samsungs. When you've got sort of Chinese manufacturers like Oppo, for example, that are creating these phones with an entire front screen on there. There's no notches. There's selfie cameras are even putting mechanisms that pop out the top. When you compare them to something like that, then yes, the Google Pixel 3 does look very, very dated. Now, you can turn the notch off if you want to. I don't really like doing that because it just puts this kind of black bar across the top, but you can hide the notch if you don't like it. But I still think they look quite nice, especially on the back as well. You've got very nice kind of that two-tone finish on the back that you've got there as well. Does look quite good. But yeah, as I say, apart from that, they're not going to turn heads. They're not going to wow the crowd, but they are a very, very nice all-round kind of smartphone for anything you want to throw at it, including very sort of high graphically demanding games. So thank you very much for checking out our full in-depth look at the Google Pixel 3 and Google Pixel 3 XL. If you enjoyed our video, then click that like button. Please let us know in the comments what you think about the two handsets here, whether you would go for your next upgrade for a Google Pixel 3 XL, if you're using a Google Pixel 2 and you're interested in the Google Pixel 3, let us know. Or if you're going to avoid them altogether and go for the iPhone or the Samsung, something like that, then yeah, again, let us know. As I say, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.